This Sunday, 12 October 2025, Cameroonians went to police stations across the country to elect the President of the Republic. In strict compliance with the presidential decree of 11 July 2025, convening the electorate, polling station opened at 8 p.m. and closed at 6 p.m. At 8 a.m. and closed at 6 p.m. Initial reports forwarded by administrative authorities to the Minister of Territorial Administration in his capacity as government agent in the electoral process indicate that the election was hitch-free throughout the national territory, just like the campaigns which ended yesterday at midnight without any major incident, despite the excesses of some candidates. As instructed by the head of state, His Excellency President Paul Biya, the presidential election effectively took place in all the 360 subdivisions of the country. Administrative authorities identified 31,653 polling stations and confirmed that ballot papers of all 12 candidates approved by the Constitutional Council were deposited by Elections Cameroon in all polling stations in 10 regions. They, however, noted a very low turnout of representatives of several candidates at polling stations nationwide. More details will be available once the local commissions may have completed their work. For today's presidential election, the Minister of Territorial Administration received accreditation requests from 165 national and foreign organizations, diplomatic missions, NGOs, civil society, and religious associations. The Minister of Territorial Administration issued 5,575 accreditations to observers deployed across the country's 10 regions. The observers will do their work or must have done their work freely, but in compliance with the laws of the land. As late as yesterday evening, when campaigns officially came to an end, administrative authorities provided converging evidence of attempts by certain candidates to publish the results of the presidential election using platforms and applications that are not provided for by the laws in force. I want to take this opportunity to reiterate to candidates that whosoever is tempted to engage in this criminal activity should stop before it's too late. That is the red line that must not be crossed. Candidates for presidential election should be reminded that they all signed a code of good conduct drafted by Elections Cameroon, which requires them to respect the entire electoral process and the laws of the republic. The administration will take drastic measures to put an end to any attempt of fabricating fake election results and publishing them on illegal platforms. Defaulters, regardless of their political status or social rank, shall face the heavy arm of the law. As it has always been the case, there will obviously be complaints and observations from candidates after the presidential election. However, the administration's position is consistent. Candidates must use legal channels to file their complaints, observations, or grievances in due time. That is a part of wisdom. That is a sign of political maturity and sense of responsibility. The head of state, His Excellency President Paul Biya, has given firm instructions for a well-organized, credible, and peaceful presidential election held in a secure environment. I wish to assure the national and the international communities that the presidential election of today took place in the 10 regions without any major incident. I can say it was hitch-free. Henceforth, the leniency observed during the campaign period is over. I must emphasize that break time is over. Only the vote counting bodies will continue with the process. These are the divisional and national vote counting commissions, which all have a well-defined working time frame. Subsequently, the Constitutional Council shall take over until the official proclamation of election results. No action out of this legal framework shall be tolerated. Disrupt the electoral process at the end of the polls will be considered by Minat as a casus belli and treated as such. I would like to conclude my statement with the warning that the head of state, His Excellency President Paul Biya, issued to unscrupulous candidates during the 1992 presidential elections, and I quote, "Nobody should joke with Cameroon." The head of state's statement warning in 1992 still applies to the present circumstances. Defaulters should be on their guard. As I said, we have come to the end of the process, and only the legal institutions will continue the process, and political leaders should wait in their different areas for things to continue. The law shall prevail at all costs. Thank you.